No attempt in humor at all in what he said. And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public.
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Rob Schneider just lit up the Jimmy Kimmel fiasco, and it wasn't pretty. Instead of rallying around a fellow comic, he went scorched earth, tearing into the late-night host and the woke mob that's been screaming over Kimmel's ABC exit. No sympathy, no soft gloves, just straight-up demolition. What people expected to be support turned into a full-blown ambush, and the result: shock, laughter, and a brutal reminder that Rob isn't here to play nice.
Now, to figure all this out is actor and comedian Rob Schneider. Rob, it's great to see you here today. Are you chilled? Are you in fear for the future of comedy and free speech?
Well, Will, first of all, I woke up this morning to the incredible shock that apparently TV shows are not guaranteed in our Constitution. I mean, wow. So that was tough to swallow. First,
Schneider's first strike was a cold dose of reality. TV shows aren't a constitutional right. You can shout free speech all you want, but the First Amendment doesn't guarantee a cushy network contract. Businesses exist to make money, not babysit fragile egos. And if your words threaten the bottom line, you're gone. Rob drilled it in with sniper-like sarcasm. Free speech shields you from government censorship, not from your boss deciding you're a liability. If you don't own the network, don't be shocked when the network owns you.
I'm still waiting for the left, the liberals, to get outraged about Roseanne getting fired for her free speech. And then I'm also waiting, I've been waiting a long time for the left and the Democrats, especially the Democrats on Capitol Hill, with the Twitter files that released that the Biden-Harris administration was actually using the government to pressure Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and especially Twitter to actually censor actual Americans through government pressure.
Then Rob pulled out the hypocrisy card. Where was the outrage when Roseanne Barr got axed from ABC over her infamous Valerie Jarrett tweet? The same voices crying for Kimmel's job security were silent back then, cheering even. Schneider isn't excusing Roseanne's words. He's pointing at the double standard. If you celebrated ABC's axe when it fell on someone you hated, you don't get to weep when it swings back your way. Consistency is comedy's sharpest weapon, and Rob wielded it with precision.
Here is you have capitalist pressure. Capitalist pressure is really important because what happens is you have to make money, or you have to do something of value so that you can get something in return. Now, the interesting thing is, it's false advertising, because honestly, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that, but the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said.
And finally, Rob reminded everyone of the bigger picture. It was Biden, Harris, and the left who leaned on tech giants to police speech in the first place. Twitter, Facebook, fact-checkers, those systems weren't dreamed up in a vacuum. The left pushed for them. Now the same crowd is outraged when the apparatus they built ends up backfiring on their own guy. Schneider's verdict? You can't demand censorship when it benefits you, then scream injustice when the same rules cut against your favorite. That's hypocrisy on full display.
Matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket, because they are there to present news, to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it, just to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other day.
Here's what the woke mob won't admit. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't silenced, he sabotaged himself. Nobody forced him to spout half-baked jokes as facts on national TV. He could have stayed quiet, double-checked his punchlines, or at least chosen accuracy over applause. Instead, he went for the cheap partisan jab, and it backfired. When you spread misinformation on a platform that depends on trust, you're not being censored, you're being held accountable. Rob's verdict was brutal. Kimmel pulled the trigger on his own career, and the fallout was self-inflicted.
It was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, if what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it. And when 246 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this, it's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who's a great guy over there, Sean Compton, said, that's it. He's the CEO, and said, when we have complaints like this, and none of the channels, 246.
Then Schneider shredded another myth, that Kimmel's firing was some government plot. Total nonsense. The FCC wasn't breathing down ABC's neck. No sanctions were coming. At most, regulators would have asked for an apology. But ABC wasn't interested in sorry. Executives saw Kimmel's remarks as reckless, tasteless, and corrosive to their brand. So they made the kind of decision corporations make every day. They cut ties. No censorship. No political persecution. Just business. Rob hammered the point home. Kimmel's career crash was caused by his own words colliding with ABC's bottom line.
I'd like to say this in defense of people who can get absolutely entrapped into this political echo chamber. And that's what happened to, in my opinion, what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. I heard him talking on some podcast with another comedian, and it's easy to get trapped in your political echo chamber.
And that's the real story of Jimmy Kimmel's decline. What started as harmless jabs at Trump and MAGA slowly morphed into something darker. The quick one-liners turned into recycled talking points, straight out of the cable news echo chamber. Instead of sparking conversations, he shut them down, trading curiosity for bias, balance for partisanship. At some point, he stopped being a comedian for everyone and became a mouthpiece for one side, and audiences noticed. In the end, it wasn't politics that doomed him. It was forgetting comedy altogether.
Absolutely right about you have to bring value to your employer. You also have to serve, as you pointed out with the FCC's regulation, the public interest. Now, no one denies that you or Jimmy Kimmel can have your opinion, but it's where you use that opinion and on what platform. And there was a time, Rob, when late night hosts seemed to understand that balance a little bit better. And I just wanted to, with you and our viewers, remember together Johnny Carson.
Rob's bigger point was clear. Television hosts carry enormous influence, and with that comes responsibility. What they say on a national broadcast isn't harmless banter. It echoes into millions of homes and shapes public perception. That doesn't mean comedy has to be neutered or stripped of personality. It means the commentary should be grounded in truth, not twisted into partisan propaganda. When a host caters to one political camp, they stop being entertainers and start playing propagandist, and that's when trust collapses. The best hosts roast both sides, spark laughter and thought, and keep the stage from becoming a campaign rally. Balance isn't boring. Balance is rare, and it's exactly what audiences crave.
They think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues. That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
And Johnny Carson set the standard for what late night was supposed to be, pure entertainment. He could touch politics, sure, but always kept it light, funny, and accessible to everyone. People tuned in after a long day to laugh, not to sit through a partisan sermon. But today's late-night lineup is unrecognizable. One by one, hosts have traded humor for soapboxes, pounding away at the same political targets, especially Donald Trump, night after night. The punchlines sound less like comedy and more like campaign ads, dripping with predictable talking points. And the result? Viewers aren't laughing, they're tuning out. Carson brought people together. Today's hosts split them apart. That's why the magic feels gone.
Your reaction Johnny, 100%. Johnny. Well, Johnny Carson was unique in the sense that You don't really know if he leaned left or right. Sometimes he leaned left, sometimes he leaned right, but he was there to get laughs, and he realized what people wanted to do. And I remember, like, as you know, when we were little kids climbing into our mom and daddy's bed when they let us stay up late on a Friday, and we'd watch Johnny Carson, we'd all laugh together because Johnny was there to entertain.
And that's why Rob Schneider's takedown of Jimmy Kimmel hit so hard. It wasn't just about one comedian losing his spot. It was about exposing the rot in modern entertainment, the double standards, the hypocrisy, and the decline of a once great format. Rob reminded everyone that free speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences, especially when you're broadcasting to millions on ABC. He called out the selective outrage, cheering when Roseanne was axed, crying when Kimmel was cut. He pointed to the left's push for censorship on social media, only to howl when the same machinery turned on their own. And hanging over all of it is Johnny Carson's ghost, a reminder that late night used to make America laugh, not divide. That's the real takeaway from Kimmel's downfall.